Thank you for joining us this morning for today's World Sight Day 2022 member briefings. I'm going to hand directly over to Simon Darville, who's going to kickstart us with today. So thank you very much, Simon.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. As I think we've heard Martine say, I think we've got everyone from New Zealand right round to probably where we are in the UK, spanning the first half of the world, and later today we'll be doing this once again for the other half of the world. My name's Simon Darville. I'm IAPB's head of communications and campaigns, and alongside some of my amazing colleagues and agency partners, we'll brief you all today on this year's World Sight Day campaign. Our World Sight Day campaign this year is kind of being launched and briefed to members earlier than ever before, like we've said for the last few years we've wanted to do. And we're hoping to provide all of you and your organisations with a lot more information this year, so you can start your plannings ahead of this year's World Sight Day, which will be held on Thursday, the 13th of October. World Sight Day is a really important day for us here at IAPB and for the whole sector, and it's really a day for you and your organisations to open your doors to the public, to get more people involved. And last year we had great success with World Sight Day that Rachel will talk about. Rachel will go through our kind of look back at last year, and then Saloni will go through this year's objectives. Then we have Caroline, who's here from our agency partner 89 Up, who are a UK-based global campaigns organisation. Now, last year, for those of you who may remember and were around, we did an important lot of social listening and audience mapping last year, and Caroline and her team did that for us. And one of the things I thought would really help all of you this year is for Caroline to talk through that audience listening and social mapping, and really understanding our audience for this year and why we want to do it. So Caroline's here as a special treat, especially for those of you who love data, to really get your teeth stuck into that. And then I will go through our campaign moments for this year and how you as members can get involved and how we would like you to activate if possible. And then we'll have time for question and answer at the end. Hopefully that explains everything. There is a large number of you on, so it's really great to have you all here. So as we start, I will pass over to Rachel, who's going to take a look back for just a few minutes at last year's World Sight Day and our success together.
Thank you, Simon. Last year's World Sight Day was our biggest yet, and so I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who participated in the campaign and helped to ensure it was such an enormous success. So some of the highlights that you can see on the slide included our target of 1 million sight deaths pledged in the month leading up to World Sight Day was tripled, and so at the end of World Sight Day itself, over 3.6 million pledges were raised by organisations and individuals too. We also set a global challenge and asked members to document sight tests across the world taking place in unique and recognisable places. Over 40 members participated in this, and we saw some incredible photographs in stunning settings, such as the one that you can see in the bottom corner here, taken by the Mugabe Foundation in front of the pyramids in Egypt. Other locations included on a river in front of the Gateway of India, Lake Victoria in Tanzania, Brooklyn Bridge in New York, and many, many more. So in terms of media, we received over 700 pieces of content on World Sight Day, reaching a potential audience of 65.7 million. As well as this, there's over 2,000 items of online media about World Sight Day. As Simon briefly mentioned before about social listening, our insight from this showed that the World Sight Day trended on social media in 7 countries and reached 17.5 million accounts around the world. And our own social media advertising campaign reached 4.6 million people in India, Nigeria, and the USA, which created 1.7 million visits to the IPB website. And our own data shows IPB is a top influencer on social media, both for World Sight Day and Love Your Eyes. So again, a huge thank you to everyone who got involved. And I'm now going to hand over to Saloni, who's going to talk about this year's objectives.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And obviously, World Sight Day 2021 was massive, and it was thanks to the involvement of the public and our members. So our aim this year is to build on last year's successes and build on what worked well for us. That's working with the members, reaching out to the general public, and learn from those areas. And there's always scope for improvement. We want to use World Sight Day as the first tentpole moment in the broader Love Your Eyes campaign that we launched last year. We want to use World Sight Day to deepen our engagement from the sector and level up participation from the public as well. And we obviously need all our members and their networks and all other member organizations to get involved. I'm now going to hand over to Caroline, who's going to talk about social listening and all the absolutely brilliant work that 89UP is doing. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Caroline, and as Simon said, I am a little bit from outside the sector from 89UP. We've been working with IPB for a little over a year. We build campaigns around sort of complicated topics that need political attention, consumer attention, and we always build it on data. So for IPB, we did this really big piece of social listening and mapping to start off our work. So we have a better understanding of sort of what people actually are interested in within this topic that can sort of help us guide all of our strategy for World Sight Day. So social listening and mapping just means we scrape the internet basically for lots of millions of data points from social media, from the news, different platforms, so that we can analyze what the main topics are, who's driving conversation, how the media is covering the topic. So we looked into how people in lots of different countries talk about eye health and any topic sort of around that. So you can see, we had 8 different countries involved. There's obviously differences between countries, there will always be, but we actually found that there are more similarities than differences when we look at the global picture, which is really interesting for a global event such as World Sight Day. So to just walk you through some of the main findings that we're using to sort of guide our strategy. First of all, we found that talking about your eyes is not at all taboo, even though we put it in sort of a category of health, which can sometimes be something people struggle to be open about. Eyes is actually not the same thing. People are quite open on Twitter. We found that just the volume of posts online is quite high per user. So it is something people talk about, especially their own eye conditions. Things like astigmatism, myopia, and getting LASIK are definitely the most talked about things, which also obviously corresponds to the slightly younger audience we're seeing online. But people are happy to sort of exchange tips, exchange knowledge, which is a really good foundation for our campaign. Second, if we look at what content is popular online, it's definitely the really simple, really light-hearted content that gets shared a lot and gets liked a lot. People actually like using humor. They joke about their own conditions. They don't joke about other people's conditions. That's not as popular, obviously. But people are happy to sort of have a light take on it. In terms of wording, a lot of people use sort of words such as eyesight, blindness, glaucoma, short-sighted, the concrete words that describe the conditions, rather than words such as eye health and eye care, which is obviously the umbrella that we think is really useful to cover everything, but actually it's not a term that people use. They just talk about the specific condition that they have or that they're seeing. People love sharing facts and tips. That goes actually for social media and for the media. Really concrete information, public awareness things, myth busting is super popular. You see sort of news articles, 7 ways to prevent eye strains, online social media posts of these are some exercises you can do for your eyes. People are really happy to share these things. It's really concrete advice. and it's really something they find helpful and are happy to share with their own friends and family. When we map out the people that are talking about these topics, the main thing we learn in sort of the audience mapping is that it breaks into the industry and the consumers into different categories. So the industry obviously talks about this in a very technical way, using these terms such as eye health and being very sort of focused on lots of different conditions. And then we have the consumers that sort of get excluded actually when the consumer language, when the industry language gets too technical. So the consumers have a completely different way of seeing this and talking about this and engaging with it. That is much more personal, much more lighthearted. So the main learning for World Sight Day is really that we need to take that into account when we communicate our campaign. When we look at sort of the types of consumers that are in that big group of consumers, the interesting thing is we're actually seeing that they break into sort of sub-segments that are quite reflective of the general population, which tells us that it's actually not, eye health is not something that divides people. They are quite sort of, people are actually quite aligned with each other. There's not necessarily a specific way we need to talk to this group and this group to get their attention. It's quite universal and people are interested in it in the same ways, which means everybody is what we call a regular consumer and will be interested in the personal aspect of eye health. We do see some groups that are a bit more sort of, we call them conscious than others, basically some groups that come out because they are more politically interested, more interested in sort of global issues, aid. So within the regular consumers, we call these the conscious consumers that have just a bit more potential to take eye health to the next stage and sort of start caring about the wider picture outside themselves. So if we talk about sort of what does that mean for World Sight Day and for the strategy that we're building for this year, basically the main thing we've learned is that we need to meet people where they are and we need to bring them on a journey step by step towards where we want them to be. So we have this ladder of engagement, which goes from the very bottom, taking care of your own eyes. The next step will be sort of helping others in need. You might sign a petition or donate somewhere or pledge in solidarity, to then wanting political action, and lastly, being an advocate for global eye health. So people are at different stages of this engagement ladder, and we need to make sure that we meet them where they are and then try and bring them onto the next stage, sort of as the years go by, obviously, of World Sight Day. So we are looking at 4 different audiences that are in different stages of this engagement ladder, which just means that we're going to speak to them in slightly different ways and ask them for slightly different things. They are the regular consumers, and then the conscious consumers within the regular consumers, and then the politicians, and obviously the sector, which is already at the top of the ladder where we want everybody to be eventually. If we go into a bit more detail with these groups, the regular consumer can, as I said, actually be anyone and everyone. The most relevant focus is obviously sort of 45 plus, and also it's easy for us to think of sort of especially the people that are slightly more interested in health, fitness, wellness, these sort of big topics that are a little bit adjacent to our topic, because they will just be the easiest to bring on board. But these key people can be from everywhere in the world. We need to make sure we tailor the advice to where they live, obviously, because there's a big difference in sort of location to what they might be experiencing and what advice is the most relevant for them. But this is a group where the main goal for World Sight Day is for them to educate themselves. They need to learn what they can do to take care of their own eyes, because lots of people actually don't even know that there are things they can do. So the very first step is telling them you have some control and you can actually do something. So that could be watching a piece of content with some tips to loving your eyes, visiting the website to learn more, taking a quiz to just sort of test your own, what you're doing for your eyes yourself and what you might be able to do better. We need to be really personal, really simple, really concrete with these people to make them understand sort of their own world before we can bring them on the journey to start understanding eye health globally and sort of politically as well. If we then go to the conscious consumers, as I talked about, the ones that are a little bit more interested in political topics, aid, charity, these will a bit more often be from the global north or developed countries. They will be a bit more skewing female, but still sort of 30 plus. It's a really wide range still of people. They worry a bit more about inequalities in the world. They would like to do their part to help others as well. So these are the people that, apart from, we still need to treat them as regular consumers. They still need to learn about their own eyes. That's still going to be relevant. But we can bring them a little bit further. We can bring them to sort of learn more, be more interested in eye health as a global topic, as something where other people need help. These are sort of potential donors for NGOs, that do things like this. So for World Sight Day, it's really about bringing them on as regular consumers and then trying to get them on board. And they're going to be really useful as well in sort of future World Sight Days, obviously. So these people need a more caring, more informative, more emotional narrative. Something that we know is really going to work with this type of audience is personal stories of people in need. So they want to understand sort of how they can help and who needs that help. That we know that it's really going to work. Then we obviously have our politicians. That can be international level, national level in any country. The main goal for politicians is to make them understand what a big investment, sort of what a great investment it would be if they prioritize eye health. So what are the benefits socially, economically of prioritizing this? And we want them then to champion the cause, obviously, to all of their followers, everybody who knows them, and also politically, obviously. So there's going to be some parliamentary screenings where they can get eye tests, and then we want them to encourage the public to do the same. And then obviously want them on board to advocate for better eye care nationally, internationally, wherever the politicians work. So here we want to be informative, we want to be cooperative. We don't want to put all the responsibility on them. We want to talk about it as something we can do together. We want to be positive because it actually is, in a way, a topic that is easier to persuade politicians to, because we can prove massive benefits from a very small investment. And then obviously, lastly, there's the eye care sector. Lots of you guys are part of that. And these are the people that obviously are already fully on board, understand why this is so important and what needs to be done. So it's really just a matter of coming together for World Sight Day. We know that if everybody joins in on the same sort of unified message in one day, that's when we can make it so big that it really has impact. People notice it, politicians notice it. And that's when we start changing consumer behavior, changing political behavior. So it's all about joining World Sight Day, being part of the Love Your Eyes message, promoting that same message to consumers, so they start and everybody adding their voice in this conversation on World Sight Day. So that's actually everything I wanted to take you through. I think there's going to be a bit of time for questions towards the end. I saw a hand at some point, and I'm happy to answer questions at some point. But I will hand it over to Simon.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Caroline. And that was really helpful run through of our kind of methods for selecting our audiences and our language. And I know Martine from the World Blind Union's online, and she sits on our board, and I think maybe there's other board members as well. And I spoke when we came together in Dubai. I spoke about the importance of our language and changing our language when we're talking to the public. Obviously, when we talk internally within the sector, that's one form of language, but the importance of our language and simplifying our language when talking to politicians or the public is really important. And so hopefully you'll see from some of our messaging and the way we're doing things, we're learning from that social listening that we've done. I just want to talk to you now about some of the assets and the plans we have this year. A large amount of that is already available and has been actually available since the beginning of the year. What I should have said at the very start, but has probably become quite obvious, is that the IAPB board, after the success of last year, and a number of members and our global partners wanted to keep the Love Your Eyes theme and messaging this year. It was a very strong one last year, and the thought process behind that is to keep something going and encouraging the public to come with us on this journey. Hopefully they're not kind of keeping up with something changing all the time, and so we've kept Love Your Eyes as this year's theme, obviously, and so a large amount of those assets are readily available on our website. We have tried to produce some of the logos for both World Sight Day and Love Your Eyes in more languages than we have done before, and we can still increase that number if you have any kind of specialist asks around that, and so please let us know. We'll also, over the coming few weeks and month, have some more posters going up and other assets that you can use, including kind of banners, stands, backdrops, that kind of thing. So in terms of our activations this year, people may remember from last year, we asked our members to pledge their sight tests. And last year we set ourselves a target of 1 million. And by the end of World Sight Day, just after World Sight Day, we managed, as Rachel said earlier, to get over almost 3.7 million pledges. Now, the pledge system is a kind of stunt. Those of you who work in kind of communications and campaigns will know what I mean by that. This is not a scientific kind of number, pulling together scientific figures for research. We are asking you as members to let us know what you are doing, either in terms of treatment, in terms of sight tests, in terms of glasses given, in terms of aids given, all of that kind of stuff, all the work, the really hard work that you, your members, your organizations, our members do. We want to put a number on that and show that work over the course of a month. So this year we're setting ourselves the target of 5 million tests, screenings or treatments by World Sight Day. And we'd really love your help in order to do that. And as Caroline said earlier, there's something extra we kind of want you to do and start getting involved in here. And that is really telling the human interest stories, the stories of the help you're giving, the treatment, the tests, the aids you're giving, what those stories are behind those numbers. And so are you reaching any communities, groups or individuals who've maybe never had sight screenings before, or had the opportunity to have receive any treatment? Have you managed to diagnose any life-limiting conditions during the screening periods? I'll give you one example. A couple of years ago, we did a sight screening at the United Nations, and long story cut short, we ended up, someone lost something and I had to go to lost property, and the lady said, "Oh, why are you here at the United Nations today?" And I said, "Oh, we've got a sight screening upstairs." And she said, "Oh, I've been meaning to come and see you. I've got a real problem with my eyes. I've got something blurry across the front." And I'm not an eye health professional, for those of you who know me. And I was like, "I will come up and see one of our professionals." And she had a detached retina, and she then got taken to get her treatment straight away. So in what you're seeing, I'm sure there are people who have because they've come to screening have seen something that you've seen something they might have missed otherwise, and kind of numbers. Are there big screenings you're doing in one day or one session, those kind of things? So we'd really love to know that. And Rachel and Saloni, who you've already heard from, will be working with members to pull in those numbers and help us all together reach 5 million. It's a great thing for media, and hopefully will be a success this year. This year, our global challenge. So last year, our global challenge was site tested in amazing kind of places or unusual places. This year, we're going to build on that success, and we'll be targeting, as Caroline's mentioned, screenings either in parliaments, in national assemblies, in presidential palaces, in royal palaces, those kind of things. The leaders and the decision makers in your countries, no matter kind of where they are or how they are in their position, we want to get to them and try and get them a site test in the first instance, because sometimes it's about that first move, about making everyone on the same level, so everyone needing that and them understanding that, and then that opportunity to really advocate for our issue and the issues that you all care about. So I know members do this. I know that members in New Zealand are already planning on doing this. I know that members in Australia are planning on doing this. I know that colleagues in Nepal and Bhutan are planning on doing this already. And together with some of our global partners and the UN Friends of Vision, the IAPB will be hosting a screening in the United Kingdom. And so if you are in the UK and would like to attend that and help us with that, please let us know. And with partners, we'll be hosting one at the United Nations, again, like we did a few years ago with Ambassador Aubrey Webson, who I'm sure is not a stranger to any of you and is really keen on doing this. And it's really Ambassador Webson who has been pushing us to do this globally, with the UN being that kind of middle point. We've got toolkits that our great colleague Holly, who's on leave sadly today, has put together, and we will put these toolkits up. So if you've never done a screening before in a parliament or an assembly and you'd like to do that, hopefully we will give you the tools to enable you to do that. One thing I'll say here, and it's a real learning for us from last year, and Caroline will know this because Caroline and her colleagues helped us with some of our PR, is that we would like you to do these events before World Site Day. It's a really important learning for us this year. Last year, we did a lot of things on World Site Day, and almost, because we're doing it on World Site Day, it's almost too late for the media. So actually, when we're targeting the media and trying to get more media, we need to do our events a couple of days before World Site Day, or even a week or so before. So I know in the UK, we'll be doing our site screening in the last week of September. For the UN, we'll be doing it on the Tuesday before World Site Day. And what this allows you to do is get your photos, get your images, get your press release and your quotes ready, sent out to the press, and then they will then make the media on World Site Day itself. So it's a really important learning for us as a sector. If we're trying to boost the voice out there, is our World Site Day activities just need to happen a couple of days before. You don't need to lie and say it happened on World Site Day, but you say ahead of World Site Day, X organization hosted a screening. So it's a really important learning for us, and something that I hope that many of you will take on too. In terms of kind of props and things, we've introduced some heart glasses that we use with our colleagues Allegan and Abvi last year. I'm wearing a pair now. They are cardboard heart-shaped glasses that I've just put on my face, and because they are white in color, they really stand out in photos and imagery. And this is about getting more people to kind of be a bit more playful, get involved in the importance of loving your own eyes. And so we'll really be trying to make this come forward. We'll have some available for download. We're printing some ourselves as well. And it'd be great to get either your staff, if you're in a corporate organization or an NGO, if you are seeing patients or treating people, having some of these around so that people can get them on social media and a bit of a visual reminder for World Site Day. And I know many of you work with a kind of celebrity ambassadors or have high profile CEOs or chairs of your boards of trustees, it'd be great to get photos and get them to do that as well. So they will be available for those of you who want to use them. You may not, and that's absolutely fine as well. In terms of media, as I've already mentioned, media is a really important part of World Sight Day. I would say that I'm a communications professional, but I hope all of you know the importance of the media as well. Getting your message out there to as many people as possible, learning about your organizations and the work you do is really important. Again, getting that ready ahead of World Sight Day, and we'll have some sample press releases for activations you're doing available on our website. And we'd love to hear from you if you're planning on broader engagement. Last year, as Rachel said, there was thousands of pieces of media. We saw some great television from Kenya, from Canada, some amazing newspaper pieces. And so I just want to say how important media is for really helping us raise the profile of World Sight Day. Just having a sip of my tea. So we'll be producing our toolkits and packs this year like we have before. Some will be available in PDF for download like they have been historically at IAPB, but my colleagues Courtney and Shari have been working really hard to make our toolkits a little bit more user accessible this year, and so some of that knowledge will be sit on our website rather than on a PDF download that I know for some of you is quite inaccessible way of producing them. So we're really trying to learn on this and trying to make things better. But if you have comments on how we can make those things better, please send us an email and we'll try and do our very, very best. We'll also be producing, we produced an education pack last year, and we've had some feedbacks from some teachers on how to make that better. And so if you do work in schools or come into contact with children and young people, hopefully the education pack will really help them get involved in World Sight Day. And we hope that these white cardboard glasses will be a great thing for children to kind of get involved in and use. In terms of workplaces, I know this is an area that in our 2030 Insight strategy, the sector needs to do a lot more and wants to do a lot more about, and that is kind of workers, the importance of safety and eye health in the workplace. I know there's some fantastic members working with corporates in factories, in fields, delivering eye care. And so one of the things we want to do this year is create a workplace pack so that the employers and employees can get involved in World Sight Day in their workplace and really encourage the importance of eye health in people's workplaces. We have our photo competition as always, and there's not much changes. We made big changes on the photo competition last year to really make it better for our members to get involved, and we will have some great judges again, and we'd love people to get involved in the photo competition. So that will be more information will be made available. It says I was about to say in our summer, but I realized for half of you it will not be summer, it will be winter. So I don't mean that, I mean later in the months of June and July. So apologies for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere. That's a mistake I always make. So that is kind of a quick run through of what our plans are for this year. You will have maybe other plans. There'll be things here that you think, oh yes, you can use that in your own organizations. That's fantastic. There may be things that you think that this isn't relevant for you. That's also okay. We are a broad membership. IAPB has almost 180 members doing a variety of different things. We have some fantastic partners who've helped found IAPB, like the World Council of Optometry, the International Council of Ophthalmologists, and the World Blind Union, who are also all member organizations and will have different plans themselves. And that's also fantastic. What we really want as IAPB is more people to be getting involved over the years in World Sight Day, so we can really boost our profile amongst the public and decision makers rather than talking to ourselves. The big thing, those of you who've heard me speak about this before will know that when I joined IAPB, I wanted us to stop talking to ourselves on World Sight Day and start talking to other people. We have 364 days in the year to talk to ourselves, we have maybe one opportunity to talk externally, and that's what World Sight Day is about. And so if I can leave you with one message, is that let's get people outside our organizations involved in World Sight Day as well as those inside. It has been absolutely fantastic to have you all on board today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that these member briefings become more and more an important part of our World Sight Day, because we really need you and your organizations to help activate on World Sight Day and grow World Sight Day for us. Can I say a massive thanks to my amazing colleagues, especially to Caroline, who's joined us from outside of IAPB, and the team at NYT who have helped us do our events. Go and have a lovely rest of your day, no matter where you are in the world, and we will speak to you all very soon. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.